The battlefield was silent now. Smoke still rose from broken machines, twisted metal and burned alien flags. The ground was covered in ash and blood. But there was one man still walking, his boots crunching over debris. His name was Riley A. Human soldier left behind after the battle. He was tired, wounded, and low on food. But something inside him told him not to leave yet. He felt like someone or something was still alive here. As he walked past a broken alien tower, he heard it a sound soft and weak. Like someone crying. Riley paused. He turned his head and listened carefully. Yes, there it was again. It was coming from behind a pile of stones and fallen beams. Slowly, carefully, Riley stepped over the rubble. He crouched down and looked into a small space between the rocks. His eyes widened. There, hiding in the shadows, was a girl, but not a human girl, an alien. She was young. With glowing blue skin and silver eyes, her arms were scratched, her leg was bleeding. She looked scared and weak when she saw Riley, her eyes filled with fear. Ouch. She pressed herself deeper into the shadows. Her lips moved, whispering something in a language he couldn't understand. "Not gonna hurt you, Riley," said softly. He put down his weapon and held up both hands. "I'm here to help." The girl didn't answer. But she stopped moving, and her breathing slowed. Riley took a slow step forward, and then whoosh. A sharp sound sliced through the air. Riley's instincts kicked in. He looked up and saw them arrows, flying straight at them from above the ridge. Without thinking, he jumped forward. He threw his body over the alien girl. Thunk. Three arrows hit him, one in the shoulder, one in the side, and one near his spine. The pain was instant and burning. He groaned but didn't move. His body covered the girl completely. She screamed beneath him, her small hands touching his blood-soaked armor. Riley's vision started to fade. Everything around him grew darker. His heartbeat slowed. He had no idea who she was. He didn't know her name or why she was here. But he knew one thing: he couldn't let her die. Darkness took him, but just before he passed out, he felt something warm press against his chest. A soft hand, a quiet voice, and then everything went silent. When Riley opened his eyes again, the world looked strange. He was lying on a smooth bed made of glowing stone. A gentle green light filled the room. He looked down. His armor was gone. His wounds were bandaged, and his body was weak, but alive. Beside him, sitting on a low stool, was the alien girl. She was watching him with careful eyes when he moved. She stood quickly and called out in her language. Another figure entered the room, an older alien, wearing robes and carrying a silver staff. He looked at Riley, then spoke slowly in broken English. "You save our child," the elder said. "You take pain. You protect." Like Own, Riley tried to speak, but his throat was dry. The elder gave him water. And the alien girl stayed close. She gently touched the bandage on his chest. "You. Brave," she said softly, her voice shaking. Riley looked at her and smiled. Weakly. "Glad." "You're safe," he whispered. The elder nodded. "You carry scars now. Deep ones," he said. "But those scars, they bond you." To her fate, Riley didn't understand what that meant. He didn't know this place, or these people, but something told him. His story had only just begun. Let me know when you're ready for part 2, The Hidden World Beneath the Ground. I can also prepare a voiceover version with commas instead of full stops, a Leonardo AI thumbnail prompt for this part. Would you like those? Riley felt like he was floating. His body was heavy, but his mind was awake. Soft humming sound filled his ears. Not like machines, but like music. Alien music. Slow and peaceful when he opened his eyes fully. He wasn't in any hospital. He was inside a glowing stone room, the walls smooth and alive with faint green light. The ceiling above him sparkled like stars. A strange, sweet scent filled the air, something like flowers, but not from Earth. Riley tried to sit up, but pain stabbed through his side. His chest was wrapped in tight silver bands, warm to the touch. The girl, the alien girl he had saved, sat at the corner of the room, watching him silently. Her eyes glowed softly, not with fear anymore, but with wonder. "You're awake," she said in quiet, broken English. Riley gave a slow nod. "Where am I?" She stood and pointed toward the wall. It opened not with a door, but like flowing water revealing a tunnel of light. "This is my home," she said, "under the earth, where no one finds us." With her help, Riley stood and followed her through the tunnel. His legs trembled, but he kept walking. The tunnel led to something vast. When they stepped through, Riley froze. He saw a hidden city carved inside the planet, glowing underground world. Tall crystal towers stretched toward the rocky ceiling, bridges made of light-connected homes built inside walls and down. Below, rivers of blue energy flowed between alien gardens. The city was alive but silent. People stared from balconies and tunnels, watching the human walk beside their young princess. "You brought me here?" Riley asked, still in shock. "Yes," she said. "You saved me, so I saved you." She introduced herself at last. Her name was Zaira, daughter of the High Matron of the Valari, a peaceful alien race once part of a great alliance. But now, they were hunted by a rebel tribe that believed only purebloods should survive. "My mother hid me when the attack came," Zaira explained, her voice cracking. "She didn't survive." "But I did." Riley's chest tightened. He hadn't just saved a girl. He had saved the last hope of an entire bloodline in the center of the city. An elder sat on a raised platform, surrounded by soft blue light. His skin was cracked like old marble. His eyes clouded with wisdom. He looked at Riley for a long time, then finally spoke. "You bled for her," he said. "You took arrows meant to end her life." Riley didn't know what to say. "I couldn't let her die," he finally said. The elder nodded slowly. "You carry her fate now," he said. "Her pain lives inside your scars." Riley frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" Zaira stepped forward, holding something small in her hands. A bracelet made of white stone and gold, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. "This was my protector's," she whispered. "He died long ago, but his soul rests in this." She held it toward Riley. "Now it belongs to you." The moment he touched it, his body shook. Visions flashed in his mind. Battles, fire, stars, betrayal, and a warrior falling with an arrow in his chest. Then silence. The glow from the bracelet sank into Riley's skin. He gasped, grabbing his chest. Zaira steadied him, her hand warm on his shoulder. "You're not just human anymore," she said softly. "You're chosen." That night, Riley couldn't sleep. He sat on a balcony carved from crystal. Staring into the glowing city, Zaira joined him. Her legs crossed, her hands resting in her lap. "Are you afraid?" she asked. Riley thought for a moment. "Yes," he said. "But I'd do it again," she smiled, and for the first time. The pain in her eyes softened. "You remind me of the stories. Protectors," she whispered. "Maybe you are one, but far above them, beyond the tunnels." In the stone, something moved. A shadow. A spy from the rebel tribe had seen everything. And he was already sending a signal to the surface. The girl was alive, and the human was with her. The real battle had not even begun. Riley stood in the training circle, holding a long, curved alien blade. It felt strange in his hands, light, but sharp like lightning. Zaira watched from the edge of the platform. Her eyes filled with worry and quiet pride. It had been only 5 days since he woke up in the hidden city, 5 days since he learned that saving Zaira had tied his life to hers. The elders had given him food, healing, and a place to rest. But rest didn't last long, not in a city preparing for war. The rebel tribe known as the Varnek had learned the truth. Zaira was alive. A human had saved her, and both were now hiding beneath the surface of the war-torn planet. The Varnak believed in power, blood, and purity. They saw humans as invaders, weak and unnatural. When one of their spies sent word that a human warrior had bonded with the lost Valari princess, they called him a disease that must be burned out. But Riley didn't care about politics. He only cared about keeping Zaira safe. And so, every morning, he trained. He trained with alien soldiers, learned their weapons, their moves, and their ways of thinking. Even though his wounds still hurt and his body wasn't fully recovered, he kept moving, kept learning, because he could feel something building. Something bad, something close, one night. While Zaira was showing him how to read old Valari maps, the crystal walls shivered. The soft humming that kept the city alive suddenly stopped. A siren low, deep and slow, echoed through the tunnels. The elder appeared beside them, carried by two guardians. His face was pale, his voice grim. "They've found us," he said. The Varnak have entered the outer tunnels. Zaira stood, fear flashing in her eyes. How did they get past the shadow gates? The elder looked at Riley. They followed the blood. The human's wounds left a trail. Riley felt cold inside. He hadn't realized his pain had marked the path I led them here, he asked. "No," the elder said. "Your scars brought them, yes. But your courage will stop them." A council was called that night, a Lari warrior stall glowing. And quiet stood in circles with curved staffs and pulse blades. Zaira was not just a daughter anymore. She was their only royal blood, and Riley was the one who shielded her with his own body. They listened to his plan. He knew how humans fought, how soldiers thought. He explained the narrow tunnel layout. Choke points, high ground. It was strange. An outsider giving orders to ancient warriors, but no one questioned him. Because they saw something in his eyes of fire they thought only lived in old legends. At dawn, they moved. Valari fighters took positions in the upper tunnels, hiding. In the dark walls, Riley stood at the front gate with Zaira beside him. She had begged him not to fight again, not so soon, not with his body still healing, but he placed her hand over his scars and said, "These marks were the price for your life. Let them be my armor." Then the silence broke. The ground shook with the footsteps of armored Varnak raiders. Riley could see them tall, heavy. With burning red armor and black faceplates, the air shimmered with energy as they raised their pulse bows, and then the arrows flew. Riley didn't duck this time. He ran toward the flying death. Blade drawn, Valari warriors poured from hidden walls like water. Surrounding the attackers, energy clashed, metal screamed, and shadows exploded into fire. Zaira tried to call out. Blood soaking through his side again, he moved like wind and thunder, faster than before. The bracelet on his wrist began to glow bright gold. One Varnak raised a spike blade. Maimed for Riley's back, Zaira screamed, but before she could run, the bracelet flashed. A shield of energy burst from Riley's arm, shattering the attackers. Blade and blasting him back, the Varnak stumbled, frightened. They had never seen a human wield alien power before. They retreated, but not far. This was just the first wave. The real force was still on its way, when the battle quieted and smoke cleared. Riley dropped to one knee, bleeding and gasping. Zaira ran to him and held him close. "You said the scars were your armor?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "But how many more can you survive?" Riley didn't answer. He looked at the bracelet still glowing. The enemy had only begun to understand what he was becoming, and so had he. The tunnels were quiet again. But it wasn't Pisset. Was the silence before the next storm. Riley sat in a healing pod made of light and liquid crystal, his body aching, his side was wrapped in glowing bands. But his thoughts moved faster than his wounds could heal. Zaira stood nearby, her arms crossed, her eyes full of emotion she couldn't explain. He had almost died again, this time not to protect her, but to protect them all. The Valari guards had seen it. So had the elders, a human who could bleed like them, fight like them, and now glow like one of their own. The bracelet still pulsed softly on his wrist. Not bright, not loud, just steady, like it was waiting, watching. He shouldn't fight again. One of the healers said quietly, "He'll collapse." But the elder shook his head. "He is chosen by the bond. His body is not done, but the fire inside burns stronger than we thought." That night, the lights across the city dimmed. The tunnels leading upward glowed red Nami movement. The Varnak had returned, this time in greater numbers. They weren't just hunting Zaira now. They were coming to erase the whole hidden world. The Valari prepared their defenses. Warriors took their positions along narrow tunnels, their armor humming softly. Traps were set, walls sealed, and power lines rerouted to overload and explode if needed. It would not be a clean fight. It would be a last stand. Riley limped too. The command circle, his jaw tight. "I'm going," he said. "Don't try to stop me." Zara grabbed his arm, her voice breaking. "Why do you always run toward pain?" Riley looked at her, eyes tired but full of purpose. "Because pain means someone else doesn't have to feel it." He joined a small strike unit, heading toward the upper level's tight tunnels. One way in, one way out. Perfect for ambush. He carried a Valari blade in one hand, and in the other, nothing but his will. The enemy came fast. Their boots crashed like thunder, voices shouting commands in the Varnock tongue, and then fire. Explosions shook the walls as Valari charges collapsed one section, trapping part of the enemy. But the rest pushed forward. They were stronger this time, armored like beasts, weapons sharp and hot. Riley met them head-on. He moved like a flame. Through darkness, blade cutting, dodging, slashing. But something new was happening. The bracelet glowed brighter with each strike. Every time Riley was hit, it sent a pulse through his body. He didn't feel pain the same way anymore. He felt connection. Like the bracelet was sharing his wounds with the world around him. In turning them into power, Zara watched from the control chamber. Each time Riley was hit, the lights in the tunnels surged. The energy grid reacted to him like the whole city was breathing with him, alive with him. The Varnock leader, towering brute with red metal armors, mashed through the wall ahead. He raised a plasma axe and roared, "Human, your blood ends today." Riley stood firm, breathing hard. His body trembled from loss of strength. But the bracelet exploded in golden light, wrapping his arm in armor made of pure energy. He met the leader in a flash of sparks and screams. Steel clashed, echoing through the stone halls. Riley was knocked down once, twice, but he got back up. He remembered Zaire's voice. "You're not just human anymore." He blocked the final swing, ducked low, and drove his blade through the enemy's side. With a loud crack, the plasma axe fell to the ground. The leader staggered, then dropped to one knee. The other Varnock raiders hesitated, watching in disbelief. A human had defeated their strongest. Not with luck, not with machines, but with scars, willpower, and the fire of something ancient. The remaining Varnock pulled back. Vanishing into side tunnels, Riley fell to his knees. Gasping, Zaire was at his side in seconds, wrapping her arms around him. Tears fell from her glowing eyes. "I told them not to let you fight," she whispered. "And I told you I would," he said. Coughing out a weak smile all around them, Valari warriors bowed their heads. They didn't cheer, they didn't shout, they simply stepped back and let the human breathe. The battle was over for now. But the fires in the tunnels had only shown the beginning. The scars on Riley's body were glowing faintly, now shining like stars through his skin. And in the distance, beyond the walls of the hidden city, something ancient had awoken. Riley lay still on a stone platform surrounded by glowing vines. His skin was pale, his breathing slow. The battle had ended, but the fire inside him had not. The bracelet on his wrist now shone dimly like a star fading just before dawn. It had saved his life, protected the Valari, and scared the enemy into retreat. But now, it was silent. Zaira sat beside him, holding his hand. She hadn't moved for hours. Her people had offered her rest, food, even a song of honor, but she refused to leave Riley's side. The elders gathered in the great chamber. Their robes whispered across the smooth floor as they circled a tall pillar covered in carvings. At the top of the pillar was the same bracelet drawn in gold ink, with wings of fire around it. "This is no ordinary gift," one elder said softly. "It was once worn by the Guardian of Silence, the last protector of our bloodline." Another elder nodded. His soul was sealed inside the bracelet when he died in battle. "Until someone worthy touched it again?" Zaira's voice trembled. "So why Riley? He's not one of us. He's human, the eldest of them all, a woman with glowing white eyes and braided silver hair. Spoke because the bracelet doesn't choose by blood. It chooses by pain," they explained the legend long ago. When the Valari were betrayed by one of their own, a great warrior gave his life to save the last children of the royal family. His body was destroyed, but his spirit, his strength. His will to protect was locked inside the bracelet. For centuries, no one could awaken it, the elder whispered. Many tried. Warriors, kings, even my own father, but none of them had pain that was not selfish. Zaira turned to look at Riley. His chest rose and fell slowly. His face calm despite the battle wounds. She remembered how he had jumped in front of the arrows without even knowing her name.
Oh.
She remembered the moment his blood spilled on the stone and the look in his eyes when he said, "Some scars are worth it." His pain was for others, she said quietly. The elder smiled. Yes. And now the bracelet has given him part of the guardian's soul. That night, the city sang a silent song. No drums. No music, only light. Glowing paths across the tunnels lit up with soft golden patterns. It was the ancient way of welcoming a new protector. When Riley woke, he was no longer weak. He sat up slowly and looked at his arms. The scars still remained, but now they shimmered. Faintly, not like wounds. More like marks of purpose. Zaira sat beside him, her face glowing in the candlelight. "You're different," she said. Riley gave a tired smile. "I feel calm, like someone else is with me." She nodded. "He is." Zara told him everything the elders had said. Riley listened in silence. When she finished, he looked down at the bracelet and whispered, "Why me?" Zaire touched his hand gently. "Because you hurt, and you still chose to protect." Suddenly, the ground trembled. A faint crack echoed through the chamber walls. A scout rushed in, out of breath. "The rebels," he gasped. "They've called for the bone ship." The chamber fell silent. Even the elders looked shaken. "The bone ship?" Ali asked. Zara's voice was barely a whisper. "It's not a ship. It's a living creature made of death and metal. They use it to break through anything. Walls, cities, even the sky itself." Riley stood up. Still sore, but stronger than before. "How long do we have?" 2 days, the scout said. "Maybe less." The elders turned to Riley. "What do you need?" One asked. Riley looked at Zaira, then back at the glowing bracelet. "I need to know everything. Every power this thing holds, every memory it carries." The white-eyed elder stepped forward. "Then come," she said. "It's time to enter the Hall of Spirits." Zaira reached for his hand. "I'll go with you." Riley nodded. "If the past made me this, then I need to see it." As the two walked deeper into the earth, toward the forgotten place of power, the bracelet began to pulse again, slow and strong. The guardian within it was awake, and soon Riley would know what it truly meant to carry. A soul that was never meant to rest. Asterisk, for the first time in days. Riley saw the sky. It was dark, cold, and cloudless, stretched wide over cracked mountains and broken ground. Above him, stars blinked faintly, but they didn't bring peace tonight. They were the only witnesses to what was coming behind him. Deep in the tunnels, the Valari city waited in silence. Zaira stood at the edge of the cave entrance, watching. Riley stepped into the open. The wind caught his coat, whipping it around like a warrior's cape. In the far distance, beyond the ridgeline, something massive moved. The ground shook with every beat of its heavy form, and with each tremor, the fear. Inside, the city grew stronger. The bone ship had arrived. It wasn't a ship with sails or engines, it was alive. A massive creature made of white bone, rusted armor, and glowing red eyes. Its limbs were covered in blades, and its back carried warriors like a moving fortress. The Varnock rebels were using it to break through stone, spirit, and flesh. Zara ran to Riley, her breath visible in the cold night air. "You can't face that thing alone," she said, gripping his arm. He looked at her, calm but firm. "I'm not," he said, holding up his hand. The bracelet had changed again. Now it glowed with deep orange fire, shaped like chains wrapped around his wrist and rising up his arm. It wasn't just protecting him anymore. It was burning through him in the Hall of Spirits. Riley had seen the truth. The Guardian, who once wore the bracelet, didn't die to protect a city. He died because he made a choice to face an impossible enemy. With no promise of survival, And now Riley was ready to make the same choice. He looked back at Zaira. "If that thing gets through, it's over," he said. She shook her head, tears in her voice. "Then let me fight beside you." Riley touched her forehead gently. "No, Zara. If I fall, you must lead. You carry your people's future, but I carry your past from the cave walls." Warriors stepped forward, Valari soldiers, elders, and even healers. They carried weapons, torches, and glowing shields. They were ready not to run, but to stand. Riley climbed to the top of the rocky rise. The bone ship roared, its bone wings opening like claws ready to strike. Rebel soldiers chanted below. Slamming their spears into the frozen ground, red lights blinked. Across the creature's spine, a charging signal. "Hold." Riley shouted. The bracelet flared, and the air around him began to twist, not from fire or wind, but memory. Voices whispered from the past. Ancient Valari warriors, fallen friends, the Guardian himself. They were all there, in the heat of his scars, in the heartbeat of his pain. Then the bone ship charged. Its front claws slammed into the rocks, sending dust flying into the sky. Screams rose from the rebels, echoing like thunder. Riley ran straight toward it, his blade in hand. The bracelet lit up, and a burning shield formed in front of him. He hit the ground hard, sliding beneath the creature's jaw. With one burst of energy, he slammed the shield upward. Boom! The bone ship stumbled, roaring from behind. Valari archers fired glowing bolts into its joints, slowing its movement, but it wasn't enough. The creature reared up, shaking off attackers, and aimed its massive tusk toward Riley. Zaira screamed from the ridge, "Get out of there!" But Riley didn't move. He raised both hands, letting the bracelet burn full power. It wrapped his body in living fire. The ground beneath him cracked from the pressure, and as the bone ship came crashing down, he struck, the blade fueled by the Guardian's soul, drove into the creature's core. A deafening cry tore through the air. The bone ship's lights went out one by one. Then silence. The beast collapsed, its ribs falling like towers into the dust. The rebel soldiers screamed and scattered, fleeing into the shadows. The war was over. But the smoke didn't clear, because Riley was gone. Zaira ran through the dust, calling his name. She found him beneath the broken bone plates, barely breathing. His chest was covered in blood and dust, but the bracelet, it was glowing softly, like it was saying goodbye. Zaira knelt beside him, shaking. "No, not now, not after everything." Riley smiled weakly. "You're safe," he whispered. "That's all that matters." But before she could answer, the bracelet pulsed once more, and everything went white. White light filled everything. It wasn't harsh or blinding. It was warm, soft, and peaceful, like the light that comes just before waking from a deep dream. Riley opened his eyes slowly. He was standing, not lying, not bleeding, but standing. There was no sky above him, no ground below, only swirling light, floating memories, and the faint sound of a voice he had never heard, but always known. "You have walked through pain. You have carried the burden of another's life. You have burned. Not to destroy, but to protect." It was the Guardian. His voice felt like thunder and rain mixed together from within the light. A tall figure stepped forward. Covered in golden flame, he had no face, but his presence brought peace. "You were not born Valari," the Guardian said, "but your heart chose our way, and for that, I will give you what was never given to me." The light rushed into Riley's chest. Not burning, but healing. He gasped as warmth filled his scars. The pain faded, not erased, but transformed, and in that moment, the Guardian faded into stardust, leaving behind a final gift life. Riley woke with a sharp breath. The sky above him was blue, touched with morning gold. He was lying in soft grass at the base of the shattered bone ship. Valari banners fluttered gently in the wind, and beside him, clutching his hand tightly, was Zaira. Her eyes filled with tears. "Riley," she whispered. "You came back." He smiled, slow and tired. "I promised." She leaned close and whispered, "You died. I felt your heart stop." He nodded softly. Yeah. I think I did, but someone brought me back. The warriors who had once doubted him now bowed as he passed. Children touched the edge of his cloak, whispering his name. Even the elders stood in silence. Heads lowered with respect. Riley wasn't just a human anymore. He was something else, a bridge between two worlds. His scars still marked his body. But they no longer hurt. They glowed faintly, warm as sunlight. Later that week, the Valari built a new shrine, not hidden. Not underground, but out in the open where the stars could see it. And at its center stood a tall stone, carved with both Valari script and human letters. Here stands the man who wore his scars as armor, who stepped into the storm not to be remembered, but to let others survive at night. Riley sat beside the fire. Zaira brought him warm tea brewed from glowing herbs. The stars above were brighter now. He watched them in silence, feeling the calm he had never known before. You never asked for anything, Zaira said, sitting beside him. You gave everything. Riley looked at her and shook his head slowly. I didn't lose anything, he said. I gained something I didn't even know I needed. Zaira smiled and reached out her hand. He took it, and for the first time there was no fear, no battle waiting. No running, no hiding, just stillness. The elders offered him a place to stay forever. If he chose, he didn't need to decide right away, because he had time now, and the scars on his body told the story better than any words could. From that day on, children were told the tale of the human who took every arrow. Not for glory, not for reward, but for love, for peace, for one alien girl who no one else would have saved. And when the stars whispered his name, they did not whisper it in fear, they whispered it in honor. Because some scars are not wounds. They are the price of something greater, and the reward was worth every one of them.